More than a week before the elections, poll watchdogs are on their toes. In our election roundtable tonight, we look into the primary issues that need to be addressed to ensure clean election results. With me here in the studio is the Legal Network for Truthful Elections, or LENTES, Secretariat Head Carlo Africa, Automated Election System, or AES Watch spokesperson Nelson Celis, National Movement for Free Elections, or NAMFREL Director General Eric Alvia, and Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting, or PPCRV, AMVAT?
Yes, AMVAT.
AMVAT Chairman Dr. Arwin Serrano. AMVAT is?
Accountable Materials Verifiable Audit Trail Team.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for all being here. Let's begin first. Let's do a quick sweep of what each of your roles will be in the run-up to election day itself, and, well, decision day +1, day after. Go ahead.
Right now, we're focused on monitoring on the elections. And to do that, we're training our volunteers. Specifically, we're trying to assign people for detainee voting, for indigenous people voting, for select voting centers, especially those which are...
Detainee?
Yes, detainee voting.
Okay.
And indigenous people voting. And select voting centers wherein there are a lot of voters in the area.
Okay, and you need to do this because?
Yeah, because we need to protect the rights of these people when they vote. Because every election, there are a lot of election violations which are...
Like what? Give us a quick example.
Undue influence or threats or intimidation wherein people aren't, they can't have a free vote because they're being intimidated to vote for a person that they don't really want to vote for.
Like what? The detainee, for example? The indigenous...
For example, the detainees, because they're under the guards, they're unable to vote freely. They're being influenced to vote for a separate person.
Yeah.
And
so
because,
Okay, so you will provide assistance, and then what? What happens next? You
if
file
ever
cases?
there are people who are willing to file cases, then we'll be there to help them. Especially now that we have partnerships with Commission on Human Rights. So we'll be there to file cases with the COMELEC to try to disqualify these people.
Okay. Mr. Celis of AES?
Yeah. ISWAT has almost 50 organizations, and what we are advocating for is transparent, secure, honest elections. Yesterday we had a press briefing also, and what we told the media is that COMELEC is not prepared. In fact, the compliance with RA 9369, specifically on Section 11, it discussed about the compliance of the Technical Evaluation Committee regarding the security, accuracy of the systems. And what we found out, and we haven't received any report from the Technical Evaluation Committee, whether our automated election system is already certified, okay, working well, whether the telecommunications facilities are okay, whether the source code is also the same.
So what role will you play on election day, and how are you going to?
Yeah, we have been monitoring the COMELEC not only during the elections but also before and after.
So saan ho kayo magbabantay, sa mga presinto, sa mga canvassing sites in PICC, for example?
No, we're monitoring everything.
Everything. Okay.
Specifically on the transmission side, the accuracy of the systems. In fact, our organization was the one who found the 60-30-10 pattern in 2013.
Okay. All right. Let's go to NAMFREL. Eric Alvia. Eric, in the NAMFREL of old, especially pre-1986, you nagbantay kayo ng ballot boxes, you defended it with your lives, you did the quick count and everything, but things have changed in the last few years. So what is NAMFREL's role going to be now?
Yes, for an automated election system environment, there's a different way to monitor it. Our battle cry this time is not a quick count, but it's a one true vote. We want to determine if every single vote that's been cast is counted properly. And we want to make sure also that we'll have credible elections.
Okay.
Primarily, what distinguishes us from other election monitoring organizations is that we will do a random manual audit. We want to measure and we want to test if all of the machines are counting properly and are transmitting properly and are reaching, the transmissions are reaching the server. And we want to make sure also that they're counting it properly by doing an audit count.
Okay, and whatever you find, whatever you discover, you will report to COMELEC.
That's true.
All right. Let's go to PPCRV, Arwin Santos. Of course.
Serrano.
I'm sorry, Arwin Serrano. Okay. I'm sorry, sir. So of course, parang nalipat sa inyo, no, yung dating ginagawa ng NAMFREL. So you're going to be doing the quick count now, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, aside from the quick count that we are doing since 2010, we are primarily focused or popularly branded as poll watchers, doing poll watching duties in all clustered precincts all over the country. We are also having voters assistance desks since after the Holy Week. And on election day, we'll also be doing again the voters assistance desk. And we are placed near the gate of every voting center.
All right.
And aside from that, we'll also be monitoring also the various canvassing centers all over the country.
All right.
So we'll be very busy on election day.
Yes, I'm sure, doubly busy, no? How are things going to be a bit more different now because you have the VCM? Dati PICOS eh. And, well, quite a number of issues so when it comes to the VCM.
Well, one of those that are different from the two previous automated elections is that each vote counting machine have its own transmission device. As compared to 2010, 2013, we rely on the BGAN or the Broadband Global Area Network. But this time around, each machine has its own transmission device. So the transmission success rate would be much higher as we expected it to happen.
Okay, let's talk about local and overseas absentee voting. So in a way, parang dry run na rin, no, for May 9. There were quite a number of problems, especially sa overseas absentee voting, or at least complaints that we saw on social media. So how's that going to impact on May 9, and how do we resolve that? Eric of Vietnam NAMFREL.
Okay, there are indications already. Primarily, let me comment first on the turnout of the OAV. It's quite dismal. No? At 5% a week, so we're on our second week right now. That's just 10%. The target of the COMELEC is around an 80% turnout. Ideally, you should be targeting 20% turnout every week. Last week, the first week and the second week, I think the turnout was just 5%, so that's 10% in total. So we're still, we have a slack of 70%. How would you possibly get a 70% turnout in the next 2 weeks? So that's one. Number two, there were certain anecdotal, complaints, no?
Anecdotal because?
Because there's no way to verify. There's no evidence yet. No? Of course, you would see some Facebook posts, no? Regarding their votes not being counted, or regarding receipts being torn up, no? Or regarding votes for one candidate being counted for another candidate. It's very hard to validate, but at the same time also we need at least some evidence to make a judgment what happened. Offhand, probably the printing of the ballots may have to do with it, no? Because as we know, the quality control wasn't that tight, no, when they rushed the ballot printing for the OAV. No? Apparently, in the past weeks, no, we saw that 730,000 ballots were identified as having some problems, so that's why they reprinted those ballots.
Okay, but you know, when you talk about evidence, for example, dun sa mga anecdotal complaints, wouldn't it have been better if, like, the receipt had a, I don't know, like an identification number that matches that of the ballot, so that paano ba yun, huh?
Yeah. Well,
Like, how do we check? So that we can either prove or disprove the claim.
I think right now the best evidence that we can have is direct testimony from people who are complaining. Because right now, everything you're hearing, it's hearsay.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable by the courts or by COMELEC.
Okay.
So if we want to really file a case, there has to be a person willing to come forward saying that I voted for this person, but in my receipt, it's a different person. Then we'll be able to weigh whether or not his testimony is acceptable in courts.
Okay, direct testimony, filing a complaint. These are people who are overseas.
Yeah.
What the best they can do, I guess, is what? Ask the Board of Election Inspectors to write down in the minutes?
Yeah.
Ganun ba yun? What
Every time
else?
they have a complaint, the BAI is required to report it in the minutes. And then you can use the minutes later on as further evidence. So when you do file a complaint, you can use the minutes later on. So maybe right now they can go to the console to really try to find a way to talk to COMELEC specifically on these issues.
Mr. Celis?
For us in ISWATs, we have a different perspective. What we would like to have is that receipt should be counted in parallel with the automated election count or with the BCM.
But how can you be sure that it matches the ballot?
That's our perspective. No? And that if everything is okay, then those election returns should be transmitted directly to the website, public website. Because what the COMELEC would like to have is that the data in the public website should be taken from the central server.
All right. What other problems are we looking at on election day from PPCRV?
Well,
Mr. Serrano?
we have been monitoring all possible situations, including those coming from the Philippine National Police and also those coming from other stakeholders. We are really expecting that there will be a big improvement as compared to the two previous automated elections, because we have already gone through with ika nga, no, been there, done that, no. So, but basically, we're still monitoring all aspects of possible not so good, no, situations in voting centers in Mindanao areas. But generally speaking, we are looking at a more peaceful, more comfortable, and more much more ideal as compared to the two previous elections.
All right. Thank you very much to our guests. Sorry, we really ran out of time. Carlo Africa of Lente, Nelson Celis of Eyes Watch, Eric Alvia, Nam Farrell, and Dr. Arvin Serrano of PPCRV. Maraming salamat. Thank you for being here.